Hi. So welcome to Mayoor School Jaipur. I'm Kandoi. I will be talking to you about my topic today, which is establishing identity in the modern age. Now the theme for the day is be fearless, be you, and be the light. I think they are all interconnected. If you are being yourself, you will be fearless. And if you are fearless, you will be the light. And there is no discounting the fact that the bedrock for all innovation or development in the world, all the good changes, all the revolutions we have witnessed so far have originated with one man or a woman with one idea that they truly believed in and they would put their life behind it. So today, I want to share some of my experiences as a school director, as a teacher, as a student myself. I usually get to interact with a lot of teachers and students during the admission process and hiring processes. And usually the go-to question when I'm feeling out of depth technically is, okay, go ahead, tell me something about yourself. And usually people don't like that question. I believe they don't like that question because they don't truly reveal their identity. All they give me are labels. They'll tell me, I'm Kandoi, I come from Jaipur city, I'm a school director, but these are labels. These are labels which hide the real identity of who I am. Now, when we started Mayoor School Jaipur, I really wanted to make sure that students who are part of this innovative school program never face that challenge, that they have a true sense of who they are, because that will nurture self-esteem in these students. When they don't have to hide behind labels, when they can be who they truly are, when they have a well-established identity, which is formed by a very strong and resilient personal value system, they are going to see their life as a fulfilling experience, as a meaningful experience, and face the world without fear. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever come across a situation where a word or label has limited you? Somebody used to tell me when I was younger within the family that you're a failure. That only induced fear in me to participate in opportunities that I could have possibly done well with. Then somebody pointed out, you know what, your child is an introvert, you should work on that child. And my child heard that statement. And all it did was increase reluctance to interact with others, to interact with the classmates, to interact with elders in a family. And finally, I often hear it now, I'm surprised by the label, but I hear that I'm a prodigy, which is again a bad label. Because prodigy means that I have a pressure to always be ahead of the curve, to always set the highest benchmarks, and sometimes that can lead to burnouts. So labels, whether they seem good, appropriate, inappropriate, or bad, can often restrict who you are and what you can be. They become cages in your life. Another label that I want to discuss is that of privilege, and that is prevalent in our society. That is the label of caste. Sometimes just because you are given a birthright to a certain last name, you feel like you have a greater entitlement to resources, a greater entitlement to opportunities. So labels can sometimes do you good service also. I want to share a personal anecdote. When I was looking to get married to my beautiful wife, we were told that this is an intercaste marriage and it may not work. And intercaste means that you come from different backgrounds, you come from different family setups, different experiences, different lifestyles, and it may not click together. So this was one label, intercaste marriage, which was working against me. Now, as I discussed earlier, labels, they hide the complexity of social life. Knowing the truth is often expensive and time consuming. Knowing the truth increases your cognitive burden when you interact with a person. So labels are just shortcuts you take. So intercaste was a shortcut that this is not a good idea. But then I leveraged another label to make this happen for me. And that label was that my parents and my wife's parents both followed the same spiritual leader. And I said, they are from a different caste, but they are also satsangis. And that truly worked in my favor because then it wiped out the entire negativity of coming from a different background and established a new identity that we are more similar than what we first believed to be. So again, that is still hiding a lot of complexity and truth. But you could sometimes use labels to your advantage as I did. And I'm very lucky because the one prized possession I have in my life is my wife. So let's understand labels and identity, what truly forms the bedrock of who you are. How can you create self-authorship in your life? I went to a boarding school and I was an asthmatic child, I mean. And first day of football practice, my sports captain said, "You're not even worth training. Don't waste my time. Go do something else. Go find something else to do." And I realized that, okay, I'm asthmatic. I'm not good at sports. So what's the one thing that will allow me to break both of these labels? And that was long distance running. As an asthmatic patient, I couldn't do long distance running. So that is what I chose. And as a non-sports person, that is something that required more stamina and endurance than most other students were willing to, really indulge in during the school life. So over the first 2 years of my student life in the boarding school, I created a new identity for myself, which was of, pardon my French, they called me Viagra because I ran like I could never stop. So that was an identity which was clearly established by me very consciously to break down the old labels that others had imposed upon me. Now I want to discuss some philosophy with you. I know some of you are a younger audience, you may not have heard of this phrase, but this is a thought experiment. This is an experiment called the ship of Theseus. So according to Greek mythology, the ship of Theseus was always maintained in order. As one plank rotted away, it was replaced with a new plank. Now the thought experiment is it still the same ship if I replaced every part of it over time? Say over a decade. Your entire body will change. Every cell in your body will be in a new form. Your behaviors will change. Your skill sets will transform. You will be a new person. You may not recognize yourself in old pictures. I unfortunately happened to gain access to an old email account I had. I read some old emails I had written to friends, and it was very, very embarrassing because I had written lols and cools and things like that. So that was my identity then, but identity transforms just like the ship of Theseus. You can replace the individual parts of it, but does your identity truly change? There is another corollary to this. An English philosopher from the 17th century, I believe, Thomas Hobbes, he said, what if you took all the old parts of the ship and created a new ship with the old parts? Could you say that is now the ship of Theseus? So is the crew the ship, the people running the ship, are the planks the ship, or the continuity of the effort to build that persona, is that the true self? So the question of ship of Theseus is, are we really just hollow facades like the second ship made with old parts? Hollow facades of people we are trying to imitate? Are we people who are simply vessels of who we aspire to be but cannot act upon those identity tags? Or are we conscious agents who are looking to build that structure of the self, the consciousness, the awareness, the understanding of the world? And this brings me to my final point that identity is not a museum piece, it is not static in nature, it is dynamic, it is continuously evolving. It's a ship under sail, which is in repair mid-voyage. So don't worry about how people see you today. Identity is not static, you can keep on building it, you can keep on improving and improvising upon it. Again, I like to talk about myself and I will do so once again. When I was younger, I used to take a lot of home tutors. And I'm aware that many of you students may be taking home tutors as well. And one of those home tutors, when I was 11 years old, said, he told my parents that don't think he'll ever become an engineer. I used to tinker a lot with toy cars and all, so my parents always thought I'll be an engineer. But that tutor said he will not be an engineer. He's not good enough to even pass grade 6. And that day I decided that I don't need home tutors because they're putting me in this cage of an identity of being a poor student who can never break those bonds and reach beyond the stars. Fortunately for me, I came across better mentors and better teachers who showed me the way. And from that day onwards, I realized that I'll never take a home tutor again. I will seek out mentorship, I will seek out great teachers and people who can lead me into greener pastures, but I'll never be dependent on them to define who I can be or who I will be. Now, what is the foundation of the word yourself? Identity happens to be an inside-out creation. At a younger age, we can get confused. You may think that how other people perceive you is your identity, but identity is always inside out. René Descartes, the French philosopher, said, "I think, therefore I am." So it is only the internal landscape of your mind that is your true starting point of identity and consciousness. But that's not enough. I read a wonderful book by Devdutt Patnaik called My Gita, and in that he says, in his interpretation, that you can't just think, you have to act upon your thoughts. So Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am," and then My Gita introduces the idea and the power of choice. Our identity is fundamentally created when we think, but it is truly established in the moment we decide to do something with that identity. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you wish to become. A failure who chooses to write poetry, an introvert who chooses to come on a platform and speak to a public audience, the labels are irrelevant. The choice is identity defining. I want to give another example of the Ramayana. Lord Ram chose exile over his kingdom simply because he wanted to do the duty of being the rightful son. His father had given his word to the stepmother, and he wanted to keep his father's word. And even till this date, when a proud parent is speaking of their child, they say, "This is my Ram beta, ye mera Ram beta." And this is not because Lord Ram was a prince or revered in society. This was simply because of that one choice he made. So choice is the true identity, not the labels we carry or inherit. Now let's talk about a practical framework for self-authorship, an internal operating system that you can all lean on to understand that identity is dynamic and you are the controller. First is what drives you. When you're alone, when nobody is observing you, what drives you? Is it fear? Is it greater status? Is it networking connections? Is it just pure, I would say, depravity towards your nefarious self, which drives you more than your aspirations? It could be anything. But the why behind your choices, the why behind your labels is much more important. So identify your true drivers. Are you fear-driven? Are you motivation-driven? Do you need encouragement? For me, the tutor saying that I will never be an engineer drove me to become an engineer. What is it for you? Each person has to identify what their core drivers are. But the driver is like a locomotive. It can take you somewhere very quickly, but it can't run without the rails, which form the moral compass of your life. Your values are your ethical compass. If you value courage over comfort, then that is your identity. If today this city was suddenly hit by an earthquake and we had to evacuate this auditorium, would you be the first one out? Or would you wait for the children and the elderly to escape first? That is your true identity. And sometimes you may not know who you truly are till you arrive at certain defining moments in life. When you're in a moment of crisis, that is when you choose, and that is when you rely on your moral compass. So at the school and in my life, I've always tried to stay true to my value system. No matter the circumstance, no matter the cost, no matter the hurdle, if you're true to your value systems, your internal value system, your moral compass, and then you lean on your drivers, mine could be motivation through my family, mine could be, yours could be just wanting success in life. But when you combine the drivers and the moral compass, that is when you truly get to act. And that is when you truly get to define who you are. I have a little challenge for you. Identify 5 core values that you think you embody, and see if your daily actions match those values. You ask children, they love their parents, but what does that mean for them in day-to-day life? Are they doing what their parents expect? Are they aligning their values with the value systems of their parents? Is questioning not loving? So you have to identify what values you hold dear in your life and do your daily actions match them. Paulo Freire, in his seminal work, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, talks about praxis, and I've spoken about this in the past also. It's one of those words which is stuck in my psyche. Praxis means aligning your action with your reflections and thoughts. So let's identify the binary boxes and break those shackles. It's not good versus bad, it's not active versus lazy. Learn the complexity of the truth, which is your true identity. A mother who deeply cares about her children can still prioritize her career every now and then. An introvert choosing to step up on the stage can still be an introvert no matter how good he is at public speaking. Your reality is your complexity. Let's not hide behind binary boxes. In conclusion, ditch the external labels, understand the dynamic self like the ship of Theseus, make sure you recognize and reclaim your agency, which is your choice, and try to align your actions with your internal value systems as much as possible. Now do one more thing for me. Identify the one most restrictive label in your life and break it today. If somebody says you're not creative, draw a bad picture. If somebody says you're lazy, go complete a household errand that you've been pushing away for a while. And please know for a fact, dear students, that perseverance is what will get you through your identity, your fearlessness, and your true self. It is the water's perseverance and relentlessness that shapes the rocks in the riverbed. It's not the true strength or the hardness of water. It is its ability to do it every day, every minute, day after day. So resilience and values will create or diminish that gap between your idea of the self and your true reality as others perceive you. A speaker before me also said this: your identity is a great unwritten book. Do not hand the pen to somebody else to write the next chapter. You hold the pen, you decide, you act, you write the title, you write the conclusion, and all the chapters therein. Thank you very much.